Dopamine is not the molecule of pleasure. It is the molecule of dissatisfaction. It is the reason we went to the moon and the reason we are miserable when we get there.
Wow. Okay, that is a massive, heavy way to open this. You're definitely coming out swinging today.
I have to, because that is the core argument of The Molecule of More by Daniel Z. Lieberman and Michael E. which we're decoding today on Nonfiction Insights. And honestly, this book, it didn't just teach me something new. It kind of dismantled my whole understanding of my own brain. It wrecked me a little bit.
Wrecked you how? I mean, I think most people, myself included, we operate on a very specific story about dopamine.
Right.
It's the reward chemical. You know, the good job sticker your brain gives you. You eat the donut, you get the dopamine. You get the promotion, you get the dopamine. It's happiness.
And that is exactly the lie, or maybe the massive oversimplification that makes us miserable. See, the whole premise here is that we think drive, we think ambition are the paths to happiness. We think if we just get there, wherever there is, we'll finally feel good. But Lieberman and Long argue that chemically, the very thing pushing you to get there, it's actually the opponent of happiness.
The opponent? Hold on. That sounds a bit dramatic, doesn't it? I mean, are you telling me we should just sit on the couch and never strive for anything?
Well.
Because dissatisfaction, I mean, look, dissatisfaction built civilization. It built this microphone you're talking into. It built the internet. Isn't a little misery a fair price to pay for glory? I don't want to live in a world where everyone is just content.
Yeah, it's the ultimate question, isn't it? And I think that's the defense we all give ourselves. I'm suffering now so I can be happy later.
Okay.
But let's define the idea properly first so we can see why that whole calculation is, well, it's flawed. The thesis is that dopamine is the engine of dissatisfaction. It is not about enjoyment. It is strictly about the maximization of future resources. Dopamine doesn't care about what you have. It effectively cannot see what you have. It only cares about what you don't have. It's the chemical of more.
So it's not the feeling of eating the donut. It's the feeling of looking at the donut in the display case.
Precisely. And this gets to a mechanism the authors call reward prediction error. This was a huge light bulb moment for me.
Okay.
Dopamine only fires when reality is better than expected. It's the surprise. It's the, oh, wow, a text from that person.
Yeah.
Or, whoa, I might actually get this job.
Right, the anticipation, that rush of possibility.
But here's the trap. Once you get the thing, once you buy the car, land the date, get the promotion, it becomes familiar. The prediction error drops to zero. The surprise is gone. And because the surprise is gone, the dopamine shuts off.
And what does that shut off feel like?
It feels like a letdown. It feels like emptiness. It feels like, is this it? It feels like, what's next?
That's incredibly depressing, though. It basically implies that satisfaction is chemically impossible as long as you're achieving things.
It explains why success so often feels hollow, The moment you actually get it, you're standing at the finish line holding the trophy, and your brain is already scanning the horizon for the next race because the chemical that got you there it's just left the building.
Okay, but surely we aren't just one chemical. If dopamine is only about the future, what handles the present? Because I do enjoy things. I enjoy this coffee. I enjoy a sunny day. I enjoy sitting in this chair I've owned for 5 years.
Right. And this is where we have to get into the first principles the authors lay out. They describe a kind of war of space inside the brain. It's an actual geographic split.
Geographic, like physically where things are.
Physically where things are relative to your body, yeah.
Yeah.
The authors distinguish between the peripersonal space and the extrapersonal space.
Break that down for me.
So peripersonal is down. It's the space within arm's reach. Yeah. Anything you can touch, taste, hold, manipulate right now. This is the realm of the here and now chemicals, the H and N's. Yeah, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. These are the molecules of enjoyment, of satisfaction, of bliss.
Okay, so down is satisfaction. Down is the present reality.
Exactly. Down is what you actually have. Then you have extrapersonal space. That's up. That's everything else.
The future.
Everything you can't touch, everything in the distance, in the future, everything abstract. And that is the exclusive realm of dopamine.
So if I'm planning a vacation, I'm in the up space. If I'm actually on the beach drinking the margarita, I'm in the down space.
You got it. But here is the glitch. The authors argue you can't fully inhabit both spaces at once. These neural circuits, they tend to oppose each other. To process the future, to plan, to desire, to strategize, you basically have to suppress the sensation of the present.
You have to numb yourself to the now to worry about the later.
Yes. The metaphor I use to wrap my head around this is rocket fuel versus oxygen.
Go.
Dopamine is rocket fuel. It is pure high energy. It blasts you to a new place. It gets you to the moon.
Yeah.
But yes, you cannot breathe rocket fuel.
Yeah.
And you cannot drink it. If you try to live on it, you die.
And the H&Ns are the oxygen.
Yes. They let you live. They let you actually exist and savor the moment. But oxygen doesn't get you to the moon.
See, this is where I get stuck. Because as much as I want to be all zen and be here now, we need the rocket fuel. If we just sit around breathing oxygen, we're stagnant.
Of course.
I mean, look at Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel. Look at Steve Jobs. Look at any major CEO. They ignored the now. They ignored the pain in their back. They ignored their families. They ignored sleep to build something great. Isn't that ability to ignore the present what makes us great?
Oh, absolutely. And the authors, they're not saying dopamine is bad.
Yeah.
They're saying it's a tool that has sort of taken over the master's house. We are the descendants of the restless. The people who were content with what they had. Well, they probably didn't survive the famine. We survived because we were paranoid about the future.
Right.
But the paradox, and this is the key point for anyone listening who feels burnout, is that success feels empty because the chemical required to get the success actively inhibits the chemicals required to enjoy it.
So the harder you work for something, the less chemically capable you are of enjoying it when it finally arrives. That's a cruel joke.
It is, and this brings us to the crucial distinction between wanting and liking.
I'm going to guess they aren't the same thing.
Not even close. We use the words like they are, but they use completely different systems in the brain. Wanting is the mesolimbic dopamine system. Liking is opioids and endorphins. You can chemically want something that you do not like.
That sounds like addiction.
It is exactly addiction. But it's also, it's modern life. I mean, think about it. Have you ever chased a career you actually hate? Or a house you don't need? You chase it simply because your wanting circuit is screaming more, even though your liking circuit, your actual day-to-day experience of the thing, is saying, I hate this, this hurts.
That's terrifying. It means we can spend our whole lives chasing things we don't even enjoy just because a molecule is promising us the next thing will be the fix.
It gets darker. Because usually when we think of someone hooked on dopamine, we think of a junkie, right? Someone looking for a quick hit.
Sure. Drugs, gambling, doom scrolling, lack of impulse control.
But the authors make this really nuanced point here that I think is the most important part of the book. It's not just one big dopamine bucket. The system splits into two main pathways.
Okay.
You have the desire circuit. That's the impulse.
Yeah.
The donut, the text message, the cocaine,
Yep.
Immediate gratification.
The gimme circuit.
Exactly. But then you have the control circuit. This is the mesocortical pathway. This is dopamine going to your frontal lobes. This is planning, strategy, calculation. This is the ability to dominate your environment to get what you want later.
Okay, so that's the good dopamine. That's the discipline.
That's what we tell ourselves. We look at the drug addict and say he's a slave to his urges. Then we look at the workaholic CEO who hasn't seen his kids in a week and is obsessing over a quarterly target, and we say he's disciplined.
Right.
But the book argues that chemically, they are identical.
Identical. Come on. One is building a company. The other is destroying their life. You can't tell me the CEO is the same as the junkie.
In terms of social outcomes, sure, they are different. But inside the brain, both are slaves to the extrapersonal. The junkie wants the next high. The CEO wants the next acquisition. The control dopamine, the CEO's version, it's just a colder, slower version of addiction. It's not the solution to the problem. It's just a more socially acceptable way to ignore the here and now.
So the CEO is just a high-functioning addict.
The high-functioning dopamine addict, yes. Because they are living entirely in the abstract future. They're never down in the reality of their own life. They are constantly manipulating the world to get more, but they are never, ever stopping to enjoy what they've built.
Do we have a concrete example of this? Because it sounds good in the theory, but I feel like we look at these high achievers and we just assume they must be happy.
There is no better example than Buzz Aldrin,
The astronaut.
the second man on the moon. Think about his life through this lens. For years, he had the ultimate extrapersonal goal, the moon. High-control dopamine, years of training, math, engineering, discipline. He suppressed everything in the down world to get there, and he did it. He walked on the moon.
The peak of human achievement.
And then he came home, and this is the part of the story we always skip. He crashed. Depression, alcoholism, divorce. He ran out of future. He famously said, I wanted to resume my duties, but there were no duties to resume. He said, it's something we did. Now we should do something else.
He couldn't just sit with the glory. He couldn't just be the guy who went to the moon.
No. Because dopamine doesn't look back. It physically cannot process the past. It can only look forward. So when he achieved the biggest goal in human history, his dopamine system looked at the horizon and saw nothing, no more. And because he hadn't cultivated the H&N circuits, the ability to just be, he completely collapsed.
That's actually heartbreaking. It's like the engine was spinning so fast that when the car stopped, the whole thing just tore itself apart.
It's the starving rat experiment all over again.
What's the starving rat?
Researchers, they took rats and depleted their dopamine. They put food right next to them. If they put the food in the rat's mouth, the rat would chew it, eat it, and show signs of enjoyment. The liking system was fine.
Okay.
But if they moved the food just 6 inches away, the rat wouldn't move. It would literally starve to death surrounded by food.
Because it couldn't move.
Because it didn't want to. It lacked the motivation, the drive to bridge that tiny gap between here and there. And this is what happens to us. We think motivation is the same as happiness. It's not. Motivation is just the agitation required to move you 6 inches.
This creates a real problem for relationships, doesn't it? Because moving 6 inches is how you get a date, but it's not how you stay married.
Oh, this explains so much about modern dating. Think about the whole concept of the spark.
The holy grail of dating, right?
We all chase the spark, but chemically, the spark is just a reward prediction error. It's mystery. It's, does she like me? What did that text mean? That is pure dopamine. It is the novelty of the unknown.
And once you know she likes you,
the error goes to zero. The mystery's gone. The dopamine shuts off. And if you think love is the same thing as dopamine, you think you've fallen out of love. You break up and go chase the next spark. The authors argue that for love to last, you have to transfer the data from the dopamine circuit to the oxytocin circuit companion at love. You have to learn to enjoy the down world of familiarity.
But that sounds so boring. Familiarity doesn't sound sexy.
To your dopamine circuit, yes, it's incredibly boring. To your dopamine circuit, your spouse is just furniture. It's a solved problem.
Furniture. Ouch.
But that's the tragedy. If you can't switch gears, you treat people like consumed resources. You doom yourself to serial dissatisfaction, constantly looking for a new person to give you that prediction error fix.
Okay, so if this is how our brains are wired, is it just a curse? Are we just biological machines designed to be unhappy so we keep building skyscrapers and changing partners?
Well, there is a connection the book draws between high dopamine and madness. They talk about the gain knob of the brain.
The gain knob.
Imagine your brain is a radio. Dopamine turns up the gain, the sensitivity to patterns, to hidden meanings, to connections. If you turn it up high, you get a genius. You see E equals MC squared. You see the iPhone before it exists. You see connections no one else can see.
But if you turn it up too high,
you get static. You get hallucinations. You get schizophrenia. Yeah. The book points out a strong genetic correlation between high-achieving creative types and mental illness. It's the same mechanism. It's the ability to see things that aren't there. Sometimes that thing's a masterpiece. Sometimes it's a conspiracy theory.
This brings me back to my earlier defense of glory, though. Evolution. Evolution is just cruel. It doesn't care if we're happy.
That is the evolution's lie moment. Exactly. Evolution only cares if we survive and reproduce. Dissatisfaction is a feature, not a bug. A happy caveman who sits around enjoying the sunset gets eaten by a tiger. The paranoid, unsatisfied caveman who is always hoarding more nuts, he survives the winter. We are the children of the paranoid hoarder.
So we're fighting our own biology if we want to be happy.
Yes. We are fighting a system that was designed to keep us alive, not to keep us content.
So what is the solution? Please tell me there's a solution other than a lobotomy or just giving up on ambition entirely, because I still want to achieve things.
The solution isn't balance. I hate that word because it implies you just kind of stay in the middle. The authors argue for mastery.
What's the difference?
Mastery is the ability to toggle. It's having manual control over the switch. You have to be able to turn on the rocket, the controlled dopamine, to build the house, to write the book, to do the work. But then you must be able to manually shut it off, to live inside the house you built.
But how? I mean, if dopamine is so powerful, how do you just shut it off?
You have to force the brain into the peripersonal. You have to engage the senses.
Give me a practical example.
It sounds almost trivial, but it works physically. When you're stuck in a loop of worry or ambition, when you're stuck up in the extrapersonal, you need to look down, literally. Focus on texture, the warmth of your coffee cup, the sound of the birds outside, the feeling of your feet on the floor. It's not just some woo-woo spiritualism, it's neurochemistry. You are forcing the brain to process sensory data, which requires H&N chemicals. You're starving the dopamine circuit of its power by flooding the H&N circuit. You can't be in both places at once. So you force yourself to be here.
It's interesting thinking about it that way. Glory is just a chemical coordinate in the future, and happiness is a chemical coordinate in the present.
Exactly. And you have to visit the future to survive, but you have to live in the present to survive well.
So if I had to explain this to, say, a teenager, or frankly to myself the next time I'm doom scrolling at 2 a.m. or obsessing over a promotion, how would you synthesize this?
I'd say this. Your brain has a liar living in it called dopamine. It promises that next will be better than now. It gives you the energy to build the future, but it steals your ability to enjoy it. You have to be the boss of the switch. You have to know when to stop building the rocket and actually look up at the stars.
And realizing that the letdown after success, that isn't a failure, it's just a chemical shift.
Right? It's just the rocket fuel running out.
Yeah.
It means it's time to breathe the oxygen.
That is a lot to chew on. But it makes me feel a little better about my own restlessness. It's not a character flaw, it's just an engine.
It's not just you, it's the wiring.
Well, this has been, honestly, a bit of a therapy
The
session.
best deep dives always are.
So what's the final thought for the listener? What do they take away from all this?
I want to leave you with this. We are living in a world that is designed to hijack this exact system. We are the descendants of the restless, living in a digital environment of infinite more. Infinite scroll, infinite updates, infinite novelty. The challenge of the modern age is not achieving more. It is learning how to stop. It is learning that the only thing you ever actually have is the thing you are touching right now.
That's a powerful place to stop.
If you want more deep dives like this, where we really tear apart the ideas that run our lives, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel.
This has been Nonfiction Insights.
Thanks for listening.